Okay, this is lesson, guys, please stop talking. Today is lesson 4.6, day 3. Here's the answers to last night's homework. You can pause it and check. All right, find this in your notes. It says day 3 at the top. It says, the ideal diameter for a piston for one type of car engine is 90.000 millimeters. The reason they have 0.000 millimeters, it shows precision. So that means they are being very precise. Because if I gave you 90, I gave you the number 90, couldn't 90 really be 90.4, but rounded? Couldn't it be all the way down to, why am I writing? Could be all the way down to 89.6. Well, actually, 89.5, right? So if I was rounding, wouldn't 90 be appropriate for 89.5 or 90.4? Well, that's a big gap. And when we're talking about pistons in an engine, they're those little, they move up and down, they're like cylinders. They need to be very precise, because if they're not the right width, you're going to have a problem in your engine. So this is showing you that that is what they're measuring. They're measuring to tens, hundreds, thousands. So that's not how big the gap is. It says the actual diameter can vary from the ideal by at most 0.008 of a millimeter. Find the range of acceptable diameters for the piston. So, what does at most 0.008 mean? What inequality would you use for at most? Now, they're saying the ideal is 90.000. It can vary by at most this amount. Find the range of acceptable diameters. Do we know what the acceptable diameters are? No. So let x equal acceptable. But you guys realize, or agree with me, that if I take x and I subtract 90, and I'm going to make that absolute value, that has to be less than or equal to 0.008. Why am I making it absolute value? The distance has to be positive. If my x is a little bit bigger than 90, this would be positive. If my x was a little bit smaller than 90, that value would be negative. Well, there's no such thing as a negative diameter, right? So, we're going to put absolute value around it. How do I solve this? It is a less than statement. How do I rewrite less than statements? Are they ands or ors? Do they go in or out? And so I'm going to take negative 0.008 is less than or equal to x minus 90, and that is less than or equal to 0.008. How do I solve this? How do I solve this inequality? Add 90 to all three spots. So this will give me 89.992 is less than or equal to x, and that's less than or equal to 90.008. So there is the acceptable range for my actual piston. Now, really have to do all of that work? You actually even really have to set up absolute value. Now, couldn't you just take 90.000 and add 800s, or thousands, I'm sorry, and take that and subtract? Isn't that the appropriate range? This is how we do it algebraically. All right, let's look at number 2. The ideal weight for one type of model airplane is 33.86 ounces. The actual weight may vary from the ideal by at most 500. Find the range of acceptable weight. Well, again, let's let x equal the acceptable. So, x minus 33.86, we're going to do absolute value, is at most 500. Same exact thing. I'm going to rewrite that. It's an and I'm going to add 33.86 to all three colors. So, stop. So I'm going to have 33.81 there's my acceptable range. Again, I really could just add or subtract. Okay. Here's 2 good review problems. Tell me how I solve absolute value equations. What do I need to do first, Casey? I need to isolate the absolute value. So, what do I do to both sides to isolate the absolute value? Divide both sides by 4. So I'm going to have the absolute value of x plus 1 is 4. Now, I need to rewrite this. How do I rewrite this to solve it? Lily? Or, correct, x plus 1 can be 4, or x plus 1 can be negative 4. Solve this. So x is 3, and x is negative 5. There's my 2 answers, negative 5 and 3. Now, if I ask you to graph this, here's negative 5, here's 3. All I'm going to do is put a solid circle on both of them. There's no shading because the answer is negative 5 or 3. Solid dots on both. This one, subtract 1/2 from both sides. So I'm going to have the absolute value of x is 3. What are my 2 answers? Plus and minus 3. Because I could do x equals 3, x equals negative 3. And I could write it that way. Got it. Write an absolute value inequality that represents each situation. All numbers no more than 7.5 units from 0. Oh, I read it wrong. It's not no more. All numbers more than 7.5 units from 0. What is it? From 0? Absolute value. We don't know how far, so we're going to say let x, the absolute value of x, more than 7.5. Greater than 7.5. Done. They did not say solve it. All they said was write one. So the absolute value of x has to be greater than 7.5. Done. Now, this one is a little trickier. All numbers more than 2 units from 6? More than 2. Wouldn't that be greater than 2? Units from 6. What do I have to do there? It would be x plus 6. X minus 6. We want to know how far a number is from 6. Isn't that the difference between that number and 6? So x minus 6 tells you how far it is from 6.